Welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Arey, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in The Boys. Season 3, Episode 1. We pick up a year after the events of The Boys Season 2, and it's actually nuts how much the status quo has changed on this show. The boys have gone from being hunted to being part of the system like they were in the comics. The episode begins with a scene from Dawn of the Seven, the prequel 7 movie that was filmed last season. Now, if you haven't seen it, there's a pretty great fake trailer for the movie that's on the Vought International YouTube channel, which, by the way, is also a treasure trove for boys content, including fake newscasts that take place in this world. The movie was given a Michael Bay-ish, Zack Snyder tint to make everything feel important, and notice we begin on Vought Tower, nearly destroyed, probably poking fun at the near destruction of Stark Tower in the Avengers, since this is the story of how the Seven were formed. Now, we saw this movie being filmed last season, but now it's obviously been changed to make Stormfront the villain. But this isn't just a gag, it's a commentary on how Vought is constantly rewriting history and rewriting the present history with their movies and news network. We even see this in this scene with the fictionalization of Homelander's breakup with Stormfront.
I loved you.
Now, this scene was the original Girls Get It Done scene.
Don't worry. Girls get it done.
But now it's the Seven standing together. Remember, the movie was also supposed to write out A-Train.
I think it's time that I stay put for a while. It's time I went home.
But now he makes a point to say that he'll stick around.
What? Can't let you guys have all the fun.
There's even an ad for his drink Turbo Rush on the bus right here. The camera also pans across this statue of Soldier Boy, who we hear about later in the episode, and he's going to be featured this season, played by Jensen Ackles. In the comics, Soldier Boy is the boys' answer to Captain America, and he was also teased last season.
Like Soldier Boy, killing Germans by the dozen.
He leads the team Payback, the group that Butcher is about to hunt down, and they're this universe's version of the Avengers. Stormfront says,
1,000 years.
Another version of
You and I are not so different.
from Spider-Man and actually a lot of other movies.
So we're not so different after all.
You and me, we not so different.
We're not so different, you and I.
Just before they shoot lasers at each other, they say, another riff on the Avengers Age of Ultron.
Like the old man said. Together.
Then cut to the red carpet premiere of Dawn of the Seven, where director Adam Bork says that they almost canceled the movie after Stormfront was outed as a Nazi, or they might have released it on Vought Plus, one of many digs at Disney in this episode. They talk about the extensive reshoots, making fun of Joss Whedon reshooting huge chunks of the Justice League, and finally he pretends like they did it all for the fans.
Shelving the movie, or at least dumping it on Vought Plus, but
Now this, of course, is spoofing Zack Snyder's fans, basically harassing Warner Brothers into releasing the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. But in this case, Vought was always going to reshoot the movie and still release it, and they just made it seem like fans demanded it to happen. So Vought fakes a groundswell of support for one of their properties, just like Victoria Newman's grassroots support is also something that Vought wrote and invented. Later, Ashley even says that Bork is a terrible director and that Tony Gilroy had to reshoot the movie to save it. And Tony Gilroy is the director who wrote and reshot much of Rogue One, supposedly saving that movie through reshoots. Butcher is hunting for Termite, who did not appear in the comics, but he did have a Vought news segment devoted to his new movie.
As the unlikely duo find that no matter how small you are, finding true love may be the biggest mission of all.
And that movie is the reason he's able to get by with murder in this episode. I loved how they finally answered that meme of what would happen if Ant-Man would have jumped into Thanos' butt crack. But I don't think this would have worked on Homelander. I'd like to see him try though. Also, notice how the wall in this scene actually says, "Come inside." So then we go to Huey and Annie getting it on to Uptown Girl by Billy Joel. Now this is a perfect song choice for a few reasons. Huey loves Billy Joel, yes, but the song is also about a guy from the wrong side of the tracks falling for a rich girl. Just like here, where Huey is a regular dude who's dating a superhero. Huey and the others are working for the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs, the agency that they kind of worked for in the comics. It even looks like Butcher's team is operating out of the Flatiron building just like they did in the comics. And later we see that Maeve is still informing for Butcher just like she did in the books. We learn that the Secretary of Defense Robert Singer, no relation, is running for president. He's played by Jim Beaver, a Vietnam veteran who served in the Marine Corps. And I'm wondering if this is an actual photo of him from the war. Stan Edgar is trying to sell temporary Compound V to the government. Now this is very similar to what Butcher and the boys used to have superpowers in the comics. And later Butcher hides the compound in a bulldog cookie jar made to look like Terror, his dog from the comics, who needs to return to the series. Edgar dreams of getting out of the superhero business. Very similarly, Vought executive James Stillwell in the comics was always haunted that every product Vought ever made was defective. including the soups. They mention that Black Noir created a disaster at a Hard Rock cafe in Lagos, Nigeria, very similar to Wanda Maximoff accidentally killing several people during a mission to Lagos in Captain America Civil War. Deep has remade himself into the new Leah Remini. Remini is the actor and former Scientologist who exposed corruption inside the church. Remember, last season, the Deep became involved with the Scientology-esque Church of the Collective. Then Homelander is interviewed by Cameron Coleman, the newscaster from the Vought International YouTube channel. Back at the FBSA, Victoria keeps stealing Huey's food, a clear indication that she's up to no good. She name drops a few soups that Vought is giving up instead of termite.
He's going to the Global Wellness Retreat in Malibu, and in return we're getting Cold Snap, Stacker, and Airburst.
In the comics, Cold Snap was a member of G-Force, the universe's answer to X-Force. Then we see bits of a reality show called American Hero, a play on American Idol that is held in the mansion that looks a lot like the Bachelor Mansion. The competition has come down to 3 people, including Silver Kincaid, a member of the G-Men and parody of Emma Frost from the comics. And there is Supersonic, formerly called Drummer Boy. He and Starlight were members of the Young Americans, and she's mentioned him in the past. The person who just lost out is Livewire, who was also mentioned on the Vought YouTube channel.
Electricity-powered hero Livewire helped ensure this year's Halloween will be a lot safer for trick-or-treaters in Madison, Wisconsin.
Maeve turns Butcher onto Payback, mentioning the Crimson Countess, who is also from the comics, and she is a parody of the Scarlet Witch. They think that Soldier Boy is dead, killed by a soup weapon. Now, I have a theory on where he's actually been that I'm going to get into a bit later. We see that MM is still missing his old life, both with his wife and as a soup hunter. The clippings on his wall mention Robin, Huey's girlfriend who was killed by A-Train and the pilot, and Europo, a character from the G-Men in the comics. Now, one clipping says that Soldier Boy was cleared of the murder of a Queen's family with the last name Milk. We can presume that this is MM's family and that this is why his father tried to sue the company. Also in MM's clippings, I caught a reference to a very popular MCU character. This one's your mom. Nadia is confronted by a guy from her past who is also a soup. He mentions,
"We should tell everyone about Red River."
And Red River is kind of a big deal in the comics. It's a private army of soups, so kind of a play on Blackwater, Red River, Blackwater. I think it's very possible that Soldier Boy's death was faked, and that for years he has been part of a Black Ops private army for hire. After Victoria kills this guy, we again hear Uptown Girl, but now ironically, because Huey is now trapped in this upscale universe with a murdering Black Ops soldier. You gotta love the irony here.
Did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
When?
Just now.
Wow.
Right? The episode ends with another rendition of Uptown Girl, but this time Victoria Newman is the Uptown Girl that Huey has found himself in a relationship with. She is a powerful politician, a puppet of Vought, and a beyond powerful soup. Now this really sucks for Huey because, even from the beginning of the series, he's always wanted to go after Vought from within the system.
Don't get me wrong, I still want to fight Vought, I want to do it the right way.
He believed that the institutions of government and society would give ordinary people the means to control superhumans. But now what he's realized is that the superhumans, by their very nature, will always be in control. Except in this show, superhumans are a metaphor for the wealthy, the corporations, megachurches, movie studios, politicians, and the military-industrial complex. The deck is rigged against ordinary people like Huey. And it looks like this season's going to show him and the rest of the boys leveling the playing field and getting powers like they have in the comics. There's also a neat parallel with how the episode begins and ends. It starts with the fictionalized destruction of Vought Tower with these large gashes cut into the face of the building, and it ends with Tony's face being ripped apart and gouged. So we start with the fictional destruction of a face of a fictionalized building, and we end with the real person's face being destroyed by a fictional person, Victoria Newman. This is of course all a metaphor for how Vought controls the way people think and perceive the world. Well, that's all the Easter eggs that we found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. You don't want to miss anything. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.